There we go. Okay. I think I'm ready to kind of start getting into it. So if this is your first time viewing, so this live stream series that I'm doing is pretty much just for me to get better at visual development and pre-production, but also to kind of get people interested in this world building project that I've been doing for a very long time. And I'm finally able to show more of it to the general public, and I'm really excited. I'm getting ready to produce this into a graphic novel at some point, and I have a lot of designs to do, and it deals with a lot of spec evo, spec fiction, science fiction and fantasy, but mostly causality and changes. To kind of give some context, there are 12 interconnected but separate universes that are over the spectrum of kind of fiction, which I enjoy. This is they go by project name, so this is Project Renaissance, and this one is a alternate timeline, very similar to our own timeline. However, just the area of focus, which I just called is a kind of cool term I use to kind of deem where the story is taking place, is in the Middle Late Cretaceous on a fictional island chain sandwiched between India and Australia. And I am currently just kind of doing some preliminary ideation and, just world building elements and some Viz-Dev to figure out what that world looks like. And one of the creatures I was doing last week was on this island chain, there were no large sauropods for a long time. So a lot of the large herbivore niches were filled by late surviving stegosaurids that derived from Peranthodon, which is going to be this little gentleman right over here. Oh, no, did not want to do that. Gradients are still on. Right here. That, a stegosaurid that allegedly has survived into the early Cretaceous. It's contested material, but I just kind of went off the idea, let's just say it was an animal that did survive into the early Cretaceous. Theoretically, there could be a ghost lineage of late surviving stegosaurids on this fictional island. So I wanted to make sure that, I'm going through the process of kind of building a realistic biota for these animals. It's going to be really fun to kind of go through this. There's also 2 intelligent animals that live on this island, 2 dinosauroids, if you will. One is derived from ornithine birds, and the other is from ornithopods. I'll just pull up an image of that. These guys. But there's going to be a lot more world building and design changes that are going to happen. To start, take your time, folks. If you ever need to get some water, if you're going to be drawing along on your own world building projects, that's completely fine. Feel free to do so. Okay, so to start, I'm going to try and get a little loose, and a little bit. I haven't drawn really much all day. I was enjoying Lightbox Expo, which is a really cool convention. We're here in Southern California in Pasadena, which a lot of visual development artists congregate, and it was really fun. I went with my best friend, and we were just trying to be seen and make connections, and get some feedback and advice on our craft. They gave me a lot of cool ideas, and one of them is I need to learn to be more loose with my iteration designs and do more sketches and kind of a free flowing thing. So I'm going to use this page to kind of make some ideation sketches, kind of some gestures from my imagination, of possible species that could be on the island. And I've been kind of wanting to experiment and just kind of play to see what I can come up with. So I'm going to give myself maybe about 15 minutes, or maybe 20 minutes actually, to kind of go through a bunch of little ideation sketches. Because I want to keep to a schedule. I usually stream about like maybe 2-3.5 hours, probably by like 9:30 at the latest. And I in that time I like to kind of diversify, not just do characters. I also want to do environments and creatures and props to make sure I'm well rounded and I'm getting practice in all aspects. But right now, let's get into some little sketches. I'm going to do some ideation sketches, and I'm going to do it more like this. Because on the island, it's close to Madagascar in India, so I was imagining, seeing prehistoric planet. It'd be kind of cool if there was a subspecies of Simasuchus living on the island. And for those of you who don't know, Simasuchus is a really adorable, chubby crocodile relative that is blunt-faced and herbivorous. So I think that's really awesome. I think that'd be a cool kind of addition to the island chain. I'm going to keep this loose and I keep this light. Now I'm just kind of going off of memory, so these might be very rough, but I just kind of want to get some ideas here. Nothing too serious. Nothing too committed, just kind of feeling things out. This is supposed to be more form-fitting and kind of free. I think they're kind of adorable. They kind of have this like little dog body. Then again, they're called pug crocs, so makes sense. Something like this, just kind of keeping it loose, trying to keep an understanding its anatomy. And again, like if I'm not really accurate, the point is just kind of free up a little more and just get something quick and easy. So we'll call that one okay for now. Move on to the next one. Now, I was thinking there's going to be isosaurs on the island, which are a species of Indian, I think titanosaur? Because I wanted them to be invasive, like they have just migrated into the region. If I remember sauropods, kind of have like a diagonal walk pattern, so like the opposite legs kind of move in. Again, I'm not doing these with a reference, I'm just kind of going off the imagination and iterating. Refinement will come later, you know, when I feel like I got one that I like, then I'll start taking that to the next level, which will be just kind of refinement of design and getting it looking all nice. Okay, I think that's a good little rough representation of, I guess, Icy Sore. Oh, welcome. Welcome, welcome. We're just getting into some ideas and fast iteration before we start getting into more. Hey, DigiZ, welcome. I'm just getting into some ideation right now and kind of doing some quick drawings of like more species. For the island. I just got back from Lightbox Expo and I learned a lot of cool tips and tricks, you know, and my journey to kind of get better at visual development and pre-production. So I just kind of want to practice that and be a little more free-flowing and kind of more iterative and really start cleaning up and really making my process a lot more, I guess you would say more flowy and, you know, less restricted and kind of get a focus back on the ideas that I'm trying to do, but also, you know, getting them ready for cleanup. So I was trying to kind of iterate rapidly, just rough ideas of like animal species that I kind of want on the island, that could be on the island, and also acting as a warm-up. And then these guys can be, you know, taken and then expanded upon in later designs if I like one of the sketches. So I had a little Simasuchus idea, and then I have an Icy Sore idea right now. And then I'm going to do another species. Do I want a big frog on the island or a big amphibian? Yes, I do. And I'm very inspired by like Kulasuchus or Beelzebufo. So I kind of want a giant, you know, amphibian to stalk the waters. Or at least be on the island environment. But there are other crocodiles. That's the thing. I'm trying to figure out what these groups are going to look like and what animals are going to be there. So but for the time being, I'm going to draw a giant amphibian for the island, a la Kulasuchus or Beelzebufo. And I'm kind of going about this the wrong way. Let me just start with the line of action. There we go. a little more like this. Yeah, it's like resting. You know, this may be a giant amphibian, but who knows? Like I said, these are meant to be more playful and just kind of rough. You know, I'm doing this for about like 20 minutes, I said, so my timer didn't go off. Let's just kind of round it up to like, you know, let's assume like 13 minutes have passed. But yeah, there's another one. Let me think what else I could do on the island. Maybe there's... Let's see. Anyone in the chat have a specific animal that you would think would be kind of a good fit for the island chain? Mind you, this is the Middle Lake Cretaceous, and it's between Australia, India. Let me just pull up the little rough map I have. Can I act as a reference? This island chain right here is where this is all the actions taking place, so you have all these continents to kind of play with. You know, I'm open to suggestions. If anyone has a specific favorite they want to kind of see make it to the island, or at least get, you know, potentially iterated on. Allodapasuchus. Oh, cool. Okay, let me look that up real quick. No, I can't recall what that is off the top of my head. Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, these guys. Okay. I remember them. They're like the long leggy boys. And it was like Pod's Travels. Oh, okay. Yeah, that could work. That could work beautifully, actually. They kind of have more, they've got broad jaws and they kind of walk more terrestrial, it seems. Yeah, that can work just fine. That'd be a nice addition to the island. Yeah, they don't have to be so big, you know. We need some good-sized creatures. That works. Let me just pull up a reference board real quick. Okay, just getting my references to kind of give me a sense of that creature. Like I said, I just want the general body shape, and then I can expand on it later. Just kind of getting an idea. But I do like the idea of having these little land guys walking around. So maybe something like... Oh, did not mean to do that. Simple fix, all you gotta do is this. Edit, cut, edit, paste. Just merge. There you go. Okay. I'm just gonna go back to this little guy right here. Exactly. You know what? Would give them an important role. I love some Sebekids, and I love land crocs. They're kind of semi-rec kind of thing. I think they're really cool. I really love the crocodilian family tree in Sudasuki as well. They're really sick. You literally get like those classic like dinosaur looks with like the Pseudasukians, like Papasaurus and like Posasuchus. They literally look like 1930s reconstruction of the dinosaurs when they're like walking on two legs. It's crazy. I guess with the tail wouldn't be as paddle-like unless it's like semi-aquatic, but we'll have to figure that out. There we go, nice little land croc. Let me see what else. Oh, maybe a pterosaur. I can use some smaller pterosaurs. Because I do want this island to feel more believable. Like, I think a great way to show that is to kind of have actually existing taxa exist on the island too. So maybe this is Alcyone, or I can literally find like a species into the area that's like close by. That'd be like an island visitor every now and then, or maybe a specific morph on the island. I think that adds some believability, especially when you're trying to make something feel like it's nestled in reality. It's always good to kind of blend, that sense of like what is the real and what is not. Like I said, these are just super rough, super playful, nothing crazy yet, just kind of getting warmed up. And then in a little while right here, we're going to get into designs. So proportionally, the face would be probably bigger. Yeah, that feels a little better. Whatever this mystery pterosaur is going to be. Okay. Next creature. I have large carnivores. I was debating on maybe having a more rare species that is also a late survivor like my stegosaurs. Maybe a ceratosaur or a torbosaurid or an allosaurid. What do you guys think? Do you think one of those would be kind of an interesting little surprise species on the island? They used to be the endemic predator, but now they're much more rare with the addition of the abelosaurids that have come to the island. So I kind of want to always spice it up, but Megalosaur would be kind of cool. Ooh, a nice little Jurassic holdover. Nice. So it would be migrating, I guess, through Africa and or India, or like it was a part of the thing itself. I could play with that. Let me just play with it. Let me see. A megalosaurid could work nicely. Oh, let me just readjust my screen. Interesting. 1 second. Huh. Oh, forgive me, folks. There's always this kind of interesting thing where, like, sometimes when I switch screens, it acts in a weird way for some reason. Let me just. There we go. There we go. Just get a nice boxy kind of megalosaurid in. That could be an interesting kind of thing. You know, because a little bit off the beaten path, and they got like a generic kind of theropod kind of head shape. When I say generic, they're very cool animals. I don't want to downplay their awesomeness. But I do think it's interesting, though, that that's kind of, you don't really see them get much play. Maybe they're more rare nowadays, but they were, again, the apex of the island for the longest. Maybe kind of more of a generalist kind of build. They still survive because they have a more generalist build. Or maybe they're on the way out. An environment is very, dynamic, so I guess it's kind of like whatever we want to show here, it's kind of good to remember like what would happen actually in the ecosystem. Yeah, they're recently becoming the apex predators of the island. So they are more recent, and they are descended from rajasaurs. Man, they've adapted into kind of a. So I kind of wanted to pay this island, chain is supposed to be. You remember for those of you folks who are just joining in, this is new. It's kind of a love letter to like paleontology and paleo media and memes. Oh, timer's up, so I'll just finish this megalosaurid and we'll kind of call that. It's supposed to be kind of a love letter to the idea of a lost world, and there will be a human narrative of this later, which will come later in the story. But what I needed to really understand is I wanted to kind of play this island space as its own thing, and people are not going to go back in time or anything of that nature. No, it's more so set in as if this was to be discovered later on. But in this island chain, some of the newcomers are going to be the abelisaurs and the icysaurs, and they recently have come over, or at least within the last couple 100 million years. Geologically recent, but not like anything that you would think in an observable lifetime. But the abelisaurs are kind of a homage to like the King Kong T-Rex or like the V-Rex. I just wanted a bone-crushing animal that I didn't want to make them just tyrannosaurs because I don't think they would. I could have had them be tyrannosaurs, I guess, but like I kind of want to do something interesting and not really have tyrannosaurids on this island because it feels like it wouldn't be fun for me, at least. It would be like, don't get me wrong, I love T-Rex. T-Rex is my favorite dinosaur. I know that's pretty basic, but what can I say? I love me gigantic pit bull head, puddle monster. It's just me. I love them and how they look. But I wanted to kind of play with the idea of like, being a tyrannosaur is not really something, unique. Of course, it's unique to that group, but like, being a bone-crushing, big-headed carnivore is not really the newest thing to do. it's been, a very successful body plan for a lot of, megatheropods. So I was just like, well, what if a Bellisaurid was able to evolve into such a thing? It'd been, mind you, it's big for the island, but it's an island chain, so they're not massive. They're like a little bigger, maybe around comparable size to their ancestors as Rajasaurus and Majungasaurus. But let me give you an example of what they look like. I was doing some modifications on like the skull shape. I wanted them to have a deeper compressed, a deeper skull, as in like a taller skull, wider kind of thing. They're taking big bites and they're using them to really attack and incapacitate prey. There's a very, long, sturdy legs who are walking around the island and running around. So they have good stride length for carrying themselves. These are the sauropod stegosaurids. Yeah, back to these guys. I kind of like the idea of a megalosaurid being kind of like, well, they were the predators of the island before the Bellisaurs came through, and now they're kind of rare. Like, you're lucky if you see them. Probably going extinct soon. Okay, these are cool. These are really good, kind of like rough things. We got a good mix of like, we got an herbivore, we got two herbivores, we got some carnivores, we got maybe some, pescivore here, I don't know, pescivore there. But yeah, I kind of want to expand on this though. We're all going to probably get through all of them eventually, but, for the sake of the stream, we just, also I think we're on the wrong page again. Does that, it's okay. There we go. So here goes the long-necked stegosaurids that are kind of like the pseudosauropods of the island. They're pretty big. They were the biggest until the ichthyosaurs have come in and are kind of taking over. We just turn this off. So last session, we were working on props and environments, and I'd still much like to get to that by around like 8 o'clock. So we got some time. Right now, though, I think this is a good place to, stop on this guy. Like, we can come back to the long-necked sauropod, at another time. Maybe just right now I can do some cool little minor edits. I always like to do a nice little warp to kind of see what can be changed. Let me just do this. Maybe push this a little more. Like that. Maybe tail out a little more. Maybe. It's ultimately just kind of doing some minor tweaks. Like what works best for this. Like I said, this is not going to be final. This is ideation, and this is kind of like a very idea. Kind of like an initial drawing, just kind of getting a sense of like, okay, what is this guy? What is this guy doing? What am I feeling about this? I'm going to go take this to silhouettes, and then exaggeration, and then experimentation, and then stylization. But for now, I was going to think we can pick one of these and kind of start working that too. I think that'd be kind of a fun thing to do. So let's see, which one do we want to work with? Which one do I want to work with? Kind of. So many good choices. And Thank you folks for bearing with me. I know I'm still getting the hang of like the format. I kind of want to do things. So, the coming months as I get better at this, and feel free to leave comments and critiques, if you think if I could add some things that you'd like to see. The series, again, my streams on Sunday differ than mine with Justin on Tuesdays. They're solely, my solo streams are solely going to be focused on me kind of doing my world building project and kind of doing that, at least on Sundays. I might stream on other days as my schedule frees up, and there'll probably be other projects and other cool art stuff. But Sundays I'm dedicating strictly to my world building. But yeah, I think I'm going to be taking one of these, and I'm going to start kind of expanding on their idea and lore. So, between the two of you, what do you think? Which one you would want to see? Do you want to see the Simosuchid and the giant amphibian, the Icysaur, the nondescript pterosaur, possibly the Alcyone, like a regional variant, I should say? The Megalosaurid or the Adalosuchus, I think? Allodapasuchus, there we go. Allodapasuchus. And let me just, again, let me just go monitor 2. Here we go. Did anyone have a specific one that you would like me to start working on? If not, that's fine. I could choose one. So that'd be fun to kind of leave the power and the will of the people, I guess. The Simosuchus or the Megalosaurid? Oh, that's a good toss-up. That is a very good toss-up. Do I want to go plant-eating chubby boy or like last of its kind edgelord? Both are really sick, I'm not gonna lie. Those are very good choices. Those are very good choices. But hey, we can do both. Or at least, again, these are rough iterations, so yeah, why not? Let's do both. So we're going to focus, this one will be Little Simosuchus, a regional variant of Simosuchus that lives on this island chain. And this is like a really rough kind of sketch, and I didn't have reference, but I'm going to pull some references out now and kind of start doing this. And I think I'm just going to iterate a little bit, make some cooler designs. Nothing about this is going to be like really final. This is just kind of me making iterative drawings to kind of get a sense of the animal, get a sense of where I want to take the animal's evolution. And then from there, I will expand into a proper like workup and whatnot. So I'm going to get a lot of reference of the skeletal anatomy of Simosuchus. I'm so glad the one in Prehistoric Planet looks so accurate and amazing, because that is a good resource. God, I love them. They look so cute. They're very special animals. I think they're really awesome. Okay, we got that. Okay, maybe one more reference and I think I'm okay. Okay, cool. Okay, got that. Okay, time for me to start iterating. What I love about their just overall anatomy is just how compact they are. They're really cool. Small little guys. Okay, so they got like this kind of like dome shape head. It goes like this. Eyes are okay. Something like that. Kind of got like a nose that buttresses out. The teeth kind of come out like at an angle, like this. Rest of the head is like this. So, with that being said, I'm going to kind of close this in. Just kind of start drawing. Let's start kind of doing the overall design of this Samasuchus. So I don't imagine these little guys, as they're more recent, are not so different from their cousins on Madagascar. So maybe there may be small changes, and maybe enough to be a subspecies, I guess. Or I have to do more research on to see what would constitute a subspecies. But I just know for one thing that I kind of wanted. The idea was thinking is like they're very close to what already exists for them, so they're not really so outrageous compared to the others. But maybe there's enough time that has passed that some changes have happened. If there's enough time for the Brontosaurus to kind of evolve and advance in different ways, maybe these guys did too. But would be kind of a good adaptation. So they already are good herbivores. All they could do is probably get better at herbivory. maybe a little more omnivorous. Maybe they come back to omnivorous. Ooh, or you know, you got something there. Maybe these little guys, they do have powerful bites. Maybe cleanup crew, bone cleaners. They also do, you know, they can. Let's see. Yeah, that could be an idea. You know, scavengers. You know, you do need to clean up an ecosystem. So maybe something along the lines of the carrion eaters from Skull Island. Yeah, that could be kind of cool. I remember that. Still want to kind of keep them cute, but also kind of terrifying now. But we think about their little faces. Let's see. These very wide little heads, which is interesting. Maybe their little teeth are a little deeper. So that could be an option. We could have them maybe be that. But I want to keep thinking. I'm gonna, keep doing something. I'm not married to an idea just yet. I just kind of want to get a sense of where I can take these little guys. It's also the other way, where like they've become better at plant eating. You know, because carnivory and herbivory are a spectrum anyway. You know, you have cows that eat little grubs and the baby bird every now and then. You also have dogs that eat grass and tigers that, will eat plants when their stomachs are up. So maybe they're already doing that in their diet, regardless if they're more specialized for that. But something could interesting happen here. You have the potential for them to become arboreal, or more arboreal, like a crocodilian sloth almost. That could be an interesting idea. Let me just kind of play with that. But that would be really, you don't have to go too far with it. Maybe just more adaptations for spending time in the trees. Crocodilians do spend a lot of time. It's interesting. They apparently do spend time in the trees. They're really good climbers, which is surprising. It always surprises me. So maybe these guys are a little leaner, maybe a little longer. this, maybe. They're spending more time in the trees. Maybe they don't have a need for the armor as much anymore. It's reduced. So maybe some longer little hands. Avacranium. Let's see. Let me see what avacranium is. Oh, cool, cool. Yes, yes. That's a that is a Drapanosaurid, right? I think that's what they are. Cool. I like those guys. You know, something like this, where maybe it's got little claws that go over. And maybe their ankles can flex outward. I know Curatarsan ankles are very interesting and very mobile. So maybe theirs are kind of like a Margay cat's, where they can kind of flex them inward to kind of get more grip on a branch. So they kind of curve inward like this. They can make sure they have a steady grip. It's nothing too crazy. Just kind of a more arboreally adapted Samasuchid. So their ancestors would probably be common to the region, you know, migrating over from Madagascar. We're descending from the same group of them coming in. It would be kind of interesting. Maybe they also are adapted to camouflage by looking like bark. They have coloration and patterning on their bodies so that they kind of blend in with the trees. Which begs the question, what's killing them? What's hunting them, and why would they need to keep the armor? Well, probably pterosaurs. Maybe we do have the large megafauna Wukingopterids, which stalk the forests. There's also the raptors. I should say the dinosaurids, these guys. So plenty of things a little Samasuchid would kind of want to be wary of. It's not bad. I like that kind of look to them. Keep playing though. Just and you wouldn't see that as much really, and that would be kind of hidden. Would they be ectothermic or endothermic? That's a good question. That's a very good question. Now, that begs the question, was Samosukis endothermic or ectothermic? Which I need to know, because that would greatly help my decision. It could be mesothermic, you know, the middle way. Yeah, they retain body heat for longer, but they're not really true endotherms. I imagine though they store a lot of energy in their tissues, you know, being active in the trees. But let me think of like arboreal lizards. You know, then again, you know, it could be ectothermic and still have an arboreal lifestyle. Let's see what crocodilians are ectothermic. So maybe keeping it kind of as an ectotherm might be more realistic. Oh, that could be interesting. Yeah, like a nocturnal, they have evolved to be more adapted for nighttime. You know, out of the way of the predators. Maybe that's their survival strategy. And that's the fun of this. We can just kind of make some rapid iterations and just kind of think. Good, you know, visual development is a conversation. It's a back and forth. And if you're doing that with anyone, if you're working professionally or within a project or even with yourself, it's just kind of understanding that and kind of saying, like, what is this and what is this not? What do I want this to be? What don't I want this to be? Right now, what I do want is to kind of do something interesting with Samosukis in this island constraint in a way that's kind of like believable, you know, as what could happen, you know, as a species speciates in a new environment. So let me just kind of get this little. Maybe they're good at burrowing. You want to know, they're thought to be good burrowers, but maybe they're like really good burrowers. You know, they've adapted more complex behavior. Maybe they're like the equivalent of crocodilian gophers at this point. That's an interesting thing. So belly would come out a little more. Chest right here, maybe the face. Maybe going around looking for roots and tubers, you know, with their larger proportional eyes. Maybe bigger claws by comparison in the front. Maybe more powerful forelimbs in the front. Maybe a thicker neck. You know, they're pushing dirt away. So it's be like this, like that. Okay. Okay, that's pretty good. Interesting. We have a lot of options here. You know, I kind of like a lot of the potential we have here. And then again, taking one of these, we can iterate further. So this is kind of a generic, just, you know, Samasuka, maybe a more bone crushy one here. Maybe some bigger teeth. Let's see what else I can do here. Another kind of interesting thing we can play with. So right now we have a couple variants that I kind of enjoy. I like this kind of, you know, ground dwelling one, this kind of burrowing gopher like one. This arboreal one is kind of rad. I do like that. You know, I don't want to really make them aquatic, you know, because I don't think that'd be counterintuitive of a land croc. But maybe something else. Let me think. It's an interesting kind of thing we can consider. Yeah, let's think about the environment they're in. There's a lot of tropical forests. The tropical zone, I have to do more of a kind of breakdown to see where it would be, but they could probably get a lot of torrential rains. Maybe these guys have adapted to a niche of being like a... Yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? A colonizing species. Kind of like when there's fires that go down. They're the first in the area to feed on things like volcano iguanas and the Galapagos. I know they kind of go where there are these... Oh, it's pioneer species, that's what I'm saying. You know, where like these little cactuses go. Like the pink land iguana. So maybe these guys are kind of like a land iguana in the sense that they are still herbivorous, but they've adapted to eating tougher plant matter, like cactus or waxy or barbed kind of things. Things that are not really the greatest, you know, to eat on possibly, but they've adapted in a way to get nutrients from it, or to get to the nutrients, you know. I guess actually cactuses are pretty nutritious, but again, all those spines. I think that'd be kind of a nice little thing. Tree bark or tree seeds like pine cones. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be a great kind of thing. So let me think of this little guy. And after this, we'll leave these little Cymosuchuses again and expand on the prop. Okay, sorry about that, folks. It seemed that there was like a minor lag, but let me know if there's any issues on your end. So let's see. Maybe more heavy-duty kind of face. Maybe a face that's a little longer. Maybe they can chew. Oh, that'd be an interesting adaptation. How would they chew? Something that kind of feels convergent with maybe like a hadrosaur in a way, where you got these tooth batteries, or something that's kind of akin to that. They don't really have true teeth batteries, but like maybe something like this. Probably that would be covered by like flesh. Maybe a more powerful neck to kind of like rip those things off. And maybe these guys have a little longer neck to kind of reach up in, to grab things. That's super crazy. Maybe like that much longer. Ooh, nice. Like more powerful forelimbs. There we go. There we go. That's a good kind of suggestion. There we go. Like a little sturdy boy. Maybe the head a little longer. Oh, that's not where I was going for. So pushing material out of the way, maybe. There we go. And one last thing, just kind of clean this up just a little bit. Yeah, okay. So let's see our little variants near the generic one. Now, I didn't really do a proper bone crushing one, so let me just kind of really quickly do that. I just kind of did a head study. Let's have him just kind of vegging out like a chubby sausage. An angry sausage. The leg anatomy like this. There we go. There we go. There. Maybe these guys got a little more prominent crests. Little demons of the island. Let me see what the teeth would actually kind of more or less be like. It'd be like these for like. Maybe these guys have adapted more heterodont teeth, so they have different kinds of teeth. Similar to mammals. I don't mind doing canid teeth, but I do want to keep it within the group of the animal. Like, there are crocodilians that have adapted similar kind of structure. Kind of want to make sure that like it feels like it's still, since it's not going to be like a chimeric creature, it's going to be adapted from the same ancestral stock. But like, something like that could work. It's just got to be kind of like, what would its solution be, you know, from the anatomy it has. Okay, that kind of works. Little toothy guy. There we go. We have our little. No worries, Justin. Welcome. How you doing, buddy? I'm just doing some species warm-ups of like my little island, and I'm doing some Cymosuchids. The middle one is kind of a generic one right here. It's like a starting ancestor. The rest. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure out like what they would do and adapt on the island. So I was just talking with DigiZ about what possible species would arrive. What would be the one on the island. So I have one that's a little longer next, adapted for eating harder material like pine cones and wood, here with strong forearms. And this one's kind of adapted for burrowing and nocturnal activity like the little gopher. And this one's a completely arboreal one. And then this one's kind of a more, I would say, bone crushing scavenger kind of type. But they're coming from herbivorous ancestors, so it's kind of interesting to play with. Just going to take a quick little water break, and then we're going to get into the next one, which is going to be the megalosaurid. Okay, I'm just going to get the megalosaurid and get it ready. So the idea from last time, Justin, I know we were talking, and DigiZ, we were talking about what possible Jurassic carnivore could survive on the island, and something new was introduced, maybe the idea of a megalosaurid rather than an allosaurid or a ceratosaurid or a torvosaurid. I thought that'd be kind of cool. So we're going to take this and kind of adapt it. Do some similar kind of breakdowns to kind of imagine what the species would look like. Okay, let's get into this little megalosaurid. So this would be like a generic kind of common ancestor. Let's see what megalosaurs are kind of in the region, at least in that time. Let's see what megalosaurus species we have. So is it mostly late Middle Jurassic species? Okay. Let's say the megalosaurid family. Megalosauridae. Let's see. So I guess that would be Torvosaurus. So that would be there in the families, or Winnovator. It's a good one. The Torvosaurus is pretty late. Middle late Jurassic. Ah, okay. So Tannerai or Gurney could be the ones to kind of to do it for me. Let me see where they are in the world. Tanzania. That could work. Let me see. Okay, so Tannerai seems to be the one that may have the range I'm looking for. So let's kind of use that as a common ancestor. Oh, how did Lightbox go? Or, yeah, okay, so hold on. So Gurney is the one from Africa, okay. Lightbox was amazing. It was really fun. I saw RJ Palmer. I saw a lot of professional friends and whatnot. Reconnected with a lot of people. Met some new people. It was awesome. It was really cool. I got a lot of cool techniques and tips. Gave my business card to a lot of people. Gave some cool stickers. Did a lot of sticker trades. I had a fun time. It was really awesome. I'm definitely going to go back next year, and me and my friend, my best friend, are going to really come 10 times harder with like a bunch of cooler stuff and stickers. And we'd love to get a booth at some point, but it's very expensive. So most of the time, we're just going to kind of go give our merch and just kind of walk around, be like a walking shop. But it was really fun. I had a great time. Next year, definitely going to go for more days. I just can only. Fortunately, I just didn't have the funds this year to do all of them. Yeah, no, it was amazing. Like, it was really cool to see everyone. Okay, I'm going to pull some references for this Torvosaurus. It's a good-looking carnivore, actually. I think this is an interesting kind of pick. I think it's going to really be nice to kind of offset it with the, the now looming king of the island, which is going to be the Belosaurus. But these guys would be smaller in comparison, maybe about the size of the Belosaurus. So these guys are truly competing for a niche. Torvosaurs, though, are good generalists, but they're quick. So, let's think about this. So, how's everyone else's day going so far, or evening, wherever you are in the world? Going great, getting ready to get back to work on the figures. Need some coffee first. Yeah, Justin, I know what you mean, man. I could use a cup of coffee right now too. Whee, long day, fun day, but long day. Yeah, megalosaurs don't get enough appreciation, but you know that changes today. I'm going to start appreciating them a lot more. Nice. Always got to get some more thumbnail sketches in. You can never have too many. Do like a generic kind of Torvosaurid ancestor, and then we can get into something more derived. So that could be like two different. The body plan already probably is serving it really well, but we can maybe. So I was going to draw a nice through line of things if you feel like you're getting stuck. So these little Torvosaurs are on the island hunting the Stegosaurid ancestors, driving their evolution, you know, getting them, some of them to get larger sizes, some of them to develop more pronounced forelimbs and more lithe bodies or more toxic kind of things. So these guys were a real menace, you know. They were the top dogs on the island until the Abelisaurs challenged that rule. Yeah, maybe exactly. So maybe they're being pushed out into something else. Yeah, their reign was a long time. Now they're just trying to survive. What are they evolving into? What have they started to develop? The Velosaurs are kind of going more into like I guess a Tyrannosaurid style of like ambush and bone of powerful bites and you know that. Okay, a generic kind of body plan for this guy. A generic. So the head would be a little bit bigger. A little longer. A little shorter. There we go. So what do you guys think? What kind of niche are these little Torvosaurids being pushed into? Or what do you think would kind of be an interesting kind of way to take their evolution? Make it believable, you know? Because I imagine they're probably around the same size as the Abelisaurs, but they're doing different things. Just clear some things up. I'm going to close this for now. Bring this over. So let's view them in. Ooh, pack hunting. They ride in gangs. That's cool. They could bullet. Ooh, that'd be kind of cool. They're like flesh grazers almost. Maybe they're going for like larger prey. Like maybe the Abelisaurids go for large to mid-sized prey, but these guys go for large game, like the large stegosauropods and the icysaurs. Because the Abelisaurs, even though at a certain size, they can't even touch the icysaurs, but maybe these guys are starting to take on the icysaurs because of their, they have cooperative behavior. So they've adapted to kind of being kind of like little, like they've independently evolved to be like, Mapusaurs and Giganotosaurs in the early Cretaceous. So they're becoming like these, oh yeah, like the Venatosaurus from Skull Island. So yeah, they're taking on sauropods and like the megafauna of the island. Because these guys could be smart. Like we can make them little brainy ones. So like, what would be their anatomy change? So this guy's gonna be a little different and more so like it's gonna be playing up slight changes in the anatomy because they're most likely just kind of pack hunting. So they don't need a powerful bite. They just need to bleed their prey. And drive them to exhaustion. But they need to be good about maneuvering their environment. So maybe something along the lines of this. Maybe longer legs. Now I like to use this method to kind of make a general kind of idea of something and kind of just quickly, easy, just ideate on their anatomy. Let me just do that. Yeah, so like driving them into like areas, that are dangerous. Maybe they have good memory. This is really driving their intelligence, so they're very smart animals. They're not, which makes them deadly. So something along the lines of longer legs. Longer tail for counterbalance, slightly. So more of the hip would be kind of put down. Something like this. Let me just try. I'm gonna do a little bit more of a cleanup on this one, just to kind of get a sense of where this guy is going. Let me just. Let me just put this down. Something along the lines of maybe this. Our eyes that are kind of pointing more forward, some great binocular vision. Maybe kind of a long, lithe neck. Maybe a truncated kind of body up here. But a nice, powerful pelvis and hip. They're moving around a lot, so they need long strides to get around the island. Ooh, that would be kind of cool. Something like this. Nice little display structure. Ooh, that looks kind of good. I like that. Thank you for the suggestion. I always love a good dewlap or a snood. Even we could even do like the turkey ear things. Yes. I know Keenan from Tales of Chimera, like it went really crazy wild with adding those like cool ear lobe things. But I do enjoy that. You know, it's not that crazy as a display structure for like a large bird-like carnivore. Speaking of cassowaries, maybe these guys have adapted to kind of have more of a raptorial, like you said earlier, more of a dromaeosaur kind of aesthetic to things. So maybe they have a kicking claw. So like this would be the middle. No, this would be like maybe. Let me see. So the leg would be here, so that would be there, that would be here. So maybe go back to the arms. So I imagine their bites are not super powerful, but they got really serrated teeth. You know, they're not so much like Megaraptorans where they're using their hands, but they still use them a lot, so they have a good grip on them. Ooh, that'd be kind of cool. So maybe that's how they bring down large prey. They have a very potent bite. Ooh, what do you have, Justin? You have an idea? Oh. So they have like a paralytic bite? Or they have an amazing immune system. Oh. Both of these work really well. Do kind of like a chemical warfare thing where they use both. So you know, you have an animal that could theoretically have this kind of mutualist relationship with maybe a plant species. Exactly, they're using the environment. Oh, I like that. So maybe they go to these specific plants, which would, you know, that's interesting because it opens up a whole other thing to have like a whole other plant species kind of go with them. So wherever you see these plants, you can find these guys roaming around. I'm gonna extend his body just a little bit. I feel like he's a little too truncated. They get high. I love this. Oh, that's kind of interesting. That could be an interesting thing. These are all good ideas. You know, I'm gonna take some time to think about what, you know, it is, but I do like the idea of toxin and venom or poison being a part of their kind of biology. It reminds me of the Pituhui bird of Hawaii, which is like one of the few venomous birds on Earth, and have a beautiful color. They're like these black with orange wings, and it's again they have that kind of those warning colors to be like, hey, I'm poisonous, which could play into this guy's design. You know, we kind of, if I can do something real quick, I'm already getting some ideas. Very easily, you can do something cool like this. I do say though, maybe these guys aren't going down without a fight. You know, I don't want to make it. These guys are sounding like more competent animals than they are. More competent animals, but maybe there's a lot of factors too. Maybe the introduction of the icysaurs. Like they've already adapted to taking down the stegosaurids, so they are taking on the icysaurs. But maybe another problem is that, you know, maybe these guys have a different kind of breeding cycle. Maybe these guys are, since they seem to be more intelligent, maybe they have more parental care, and maybe it takes more effort for them to rear young. Maybe the abelosaurs are just kind of cranking out a bunch of them. You know, maybe that's their breeding strategy, and they don't have as much parental care. So maybe it's a numbers game for them. And There's a lot of things I can play with, and I can kind of experiment with to kind of get a sense. But one thing I like to really kind of imagine is like, what are these animals doing in their environment and how they're doing. But I definitely think though we're getting somewhere with this kind of animal. Let me just kind of do some more rough colors in. I like the idea of maybe they have a longer growth period, kind of how Meraxes gigas was shown to be longer living than T-Rex, but the T-Rex had a faster growth rate. Yeah, that could be interesting. Man, yeah, we can definitely play with something like that. Maybe the Abelisaurs are having that kind of more Tyrannosaurid condition. They start off kind of, maybe it's a thing where they're, like Tyrannosaurus, a similar thing's happening here where the Abelisaurids are kind of their way that they have ontogenetic growth, or these Abelisaurs have started to kind of adapt, is that they are able to reproduce quickly but are slow to mature, but they have an intense growth spurt themselves, where they go from kind of leggy things to kind of more of the big-headed predator bruisers of the island. These guys don't have that. They kind of have a longer lifespan and more they mature, longer growth period, as you would say. That could be an interesting thing. A lot of cool things we could take this. I'm just trying to get some rough ideas of some color. Try to think of like colors that are like poisonous, dangerous. Yeah, just kind of roughing out some ideas. Ooh, like a rainbow boa. That'd be kind of cool. Just a general kind of color, just kind of getting an idea this animal is. Let me look for a rainbow boa. Ooh, some nice iridescence. Those are lovely. Definitely gonna be snakes on this island. You know what would be a nice kind of thing to this? Let me just kind of add this in. I'm gonna add some nice little spines. Love good osteoderm. But yeah, I think that's a good start. That's a good kind of idea. I think we did a lot for the creature design portion of this. We got some little Simosuchids to play around with. We've got a bunch of other species to come back to next time around. And we got a nice little ideation sense of like these guys. So let's take a look at our little carnivores together. We have the two large terrestrial predators of the island. Well, I should say, there are three of them, I should say. There is one more. I actually do want to show you kind of a sneak peek of one more. This guy is not, really competing with these two at all. This is someone that is a fish eater. And you probably can see where I'm going with this. This is actually the cool thing about the work I've done. This project's, these projects have been going on for a long time. I was quite the prolific artist. I guess I still am. I drew a lot. And some of these things I get lucky. And one of these was a series of paleo art projects from years ago that I found and I wanted to reuse because they were cool designs. And one of them was this. There is going to be a Spinosaurid on this island. And I was just kind of I'm just kind of retooling and kind of redesigning this guy too. And there'll be another point. Thank you. Yeah, I was kind of looking at like Sigilmassosaurus and Spinosaurus. And again, I'm going to do some heavy reworking on this fellow, but they, are going to be animals that are very, I wouldn't say elusive. They're not so much rare. They're very shy. They don't like to. They're very wary. They like to mostly be around, their environments in the marshlands and watering, in the floodlands. There's gonna be a lot of things I'm gonna do to their anatomy. I'm gonna be working on them at another point. But yeah, there is a Bilosaurid, a Torvosaurid, and a Spinosaurid. These are the kings, or the big saurian carnivores of the island that are, the apex predators. They all have their own different niches. You have these guys. I like the idea of these guys going into like, larger, megafauna, like, taking down the sauropod-sized things. These guys going for large and medium things and kind of specking into, bone-crushing. Oh yeah, exactly. Kind of like the Morrison Apex Trinity. Exactly. I'm kind of going for that kind of vibe, they all got their sauropods and large stegosaurids on this island, so everyone's got to kind of do their part to clean it up. So this little Spinosaurid, though, is going to be kind of interesting to see. Yeah, let me just close this. Okay. It's going to take a small break, probably about maybe 10 minutes, and we'll be back to start getting into the environments. I kind of want to start cleaning up these environments and, just doing some cool pencils over it and kind of seeing what I can do. Yeah, I'm going to get that coffee. I think I really do need one. All right, folks, we'll be right back, okay? Let me just kind of do a little bit. Let me see. All right, folks, we'll be back in 10. Okay, and I am back. Okay. So I didn't really have a coffee around. I got myself a nice protein drink to just make sure I don't keel over. But yeah. Back onto this, we're going to get into the environment scenes. I'm just going to pick one to kind of really start going over. I just kind of want to, actually, I think I can do some line art over each. Just to see kind of what we can do. Wrong layer, let me close this. Let me close these files. I'm really enjoying this guy right here. This is a cool species. Let's expand this a little bit, and then I can do kind of a quick little draw over. So I imagine this was going to be like a village environment for these little dinosauroids, for the Zolhish. So I'm going to just kind of do some designs and make some notes. Kind of like, what do we want this scene to be? So I was playing with like their homes. So they're kind of like these wooden timber logs that are going to be tied to each other. Actually, yes, they do. They do. So there are two species, and they do have varying ones to each other. The Zolhish, which are these little and ornithine bird. Let me pull them up. It's always good to have them for reference. So these guys, they do. They would, they have a lot of hand movements, and so to preface, both of them do, but they do it very differently and to varying degrees, and rely on one more than the other. This Lawhish right here, they do have hand movements. They do have movements of the arm and wing, but they do primarily communicate via vocalization and eyes. So they use kind of an eye language, which is an interesting way because they can dilate their pupils like a bowerbird in a very specific way, where it can have meaning. But they sing. They have a very, they're very, they have a very developed kind of syrinx-like structure for them, at least, or something of a pseudo-syrinx, where they can make more toned noises. But they use their arms and kind of flap around. So they do. It's very specific, though. And I know this is kind of one with its, flesh off, but here is one, what they kind of look like it's a male. There's a female. The Krugan, they have much more dexterous fingers and hands and shoulder joints. They still can't brachiate, but they can pronate a little more. than your average, saurian. The Zolhish can't really pronate that well. These guys can pronate really well for what they can do, so that they're actually really good with crafting specific kinds of things. I'm kind of thinking these guys are going to be very good at woodwork and making kind of specific jointed things. These guys can make great tools, but they primarily make tools and wield tools using a combination of their mouth and hands, like a crow. Rugan use primarily just sign language and body language to communicate. They are very they can make noise, but they're very quiet by nature, which is a adaptation they had to kind of not be found out, as they were prey animals. And they still are prey animals, I should say. But yeah, so for them, it's body language and scent, and complex communication is carried out by hand movement and kind of dances or specific movement. And again, this is still rough. Things are subject to change. This is the ideation process, so things should be kind of Play-Doh, and just kind of subject to kind of that, whatever can kind of make more sense. And I'll do more research to kind of see what would be more advantageous, but there are things I really want them to do. I like the idea of kind of like the Hrugan having a hand language and talking with their hands. Okay, so for these little houses, for those little hish, I kind of want them to be, again, these are supposed to be reminiscent of nests for them. But yeah, so the two species can communicate with each other to varying degrees of success. It's like learning another language for us human beings. It's not that it's it just takes time and practice to kind of get to a natural speaker level. Like to learn Hrugan hand talk is a very interesting skill to have, and to learn how to do eye talk or vocalize and sing. The Hrugan can do it, but it's always, for them, they always are in a deeper pitch, as they don't have the kind of more chirpy vocals of the Zal. It pretty much we sound like they to the Zalhish, the Hrugan sound like they talk with an interesting accent. I'm just trying to get some things in. Try to keeping these scenes. So theoretically that would be there, so this means that would be here. And this would be here. This would be, since we're kind of looking up at it. perspective is an always interesting thing to remember. A great tip I learned from my perspective drawing teacher is always remember you're always looking at something in 3-point perspective, regardless if it looks like it's 2D or not, because that's just an illusion of, you know, that kind of perspective. You know, when you're living in a 3D environment, it's always going to look 3D. It's actually going to be 3D. It just seems like it is because of where you are relative to it. Which blew my mind the first time I hit it. I was like, but that's so true. It's like I'm not living in a 2D world. I live in a 3D world. But when I'm looking at something that looks like it's 2D, it's more so just my perception because I'm losing depth at a certain point. But that means these poles are bigger. So that means we follow the groove of this house. And, you know, this is a rough scene to kind of get a sense, but, you know, next to this, I'm going to start doing actual breakdowns of, like, what their actual houses look like. You know, designing, you know, environments is also doing the same thing as creature design. It's the same principle of just kind of making ideas, ideating in iteration and iterating. So I imagine these guys cut down trees or they move trees. And that's an interesting conversation to have. How would they move trees? Well, something for me to find out. The house is going to be a little bit bigger, actually. Kind of have more space, I imagine. Yeah, here. And, you know, something interesting we can do here, we can have some of these pathways kind of. So close to here, we can do something interesting like this. We can have which are like heading up, you know, kind of like this, which would be like little stakes that are kind of jutting out from the outside so they can get up to the roof. I'm going to get rid of this because it's not really. I imagine they have incredible balance because of their long tail feathers and their like their arm wings. And they're very Maniraptoran in that kind of way, even though they themselves are not Maniraptors. Going down this way, yes. How we're looking, folks? They're looking okay. Look like a nice little home. It's gonna have this in a forest. I guess it wouldn't be grass really. I guess maybe cycads, maybe little ferns. So we can do this. There we go. Now I'm going to add the little stakes into the posts. Maybe they carve little notches in there and they kind of rest these little logs in there. First I got to figure out where the angle is coming from. something along the lines of, maybe they tie it to this post. Again, we're going to do more iterations to kind of figure out what they're actually doing on here, but we're just getting the basic ideas of, like, you know, how they build homes. You know, don't be afraid to draw through figures. See, I was kind of being a little precious with it. Don't get precious with your iteration drawings. These are literally meant to be messy. They're meant to be wild and free. They're meant to be, you know, exploratory. This is all exploration. We're trying to understand the concept of the world that we're trying to build here. So we have a world of little Antornithine bird descendants that, you know, build little houses out of wood and, like, clay. And that's what we can do. Oh, welcome. Welcome, my third viewer. We're just in the middle of doing some visual development for my world building project. It's just getting into some designs for some settlements for a story that takes place in the Middle Late Cretaceous and on a fictional island chain between Australia and India. And I'm building some homes, or ideating on homes for my one of my dinosaurid species that live on the island. It's always good to have references open, or, you know, for me, I've also made a series of Pinterest boards. This is a great reference to have everything for. Or anything really. Like for me, I like to have it all together. So yeah, I like this idea of a kind of a bird's nest kind of thing, and I've been playing with that kind of concept right now. So we can make this look more like, you know, so this is kind of probably smoothed over with a clay, but there's probably like a woven kind of aspect to it. Let's see, we're going to put more steps in. See, let's get, you know, erase this just to kind of get a sense of their environment. Okay. So, yeah. Not bad, not bad. So these would be two guide poles. The main, like, staircases, I guess, would be these little entrances right here. And I imagine, you know, they have like a little cork door inside. These are open right now, but to kind of keep things up, they can close them up. Maybe they have, oh, maybe something like this where they have like little, things right here, maybe like little flaps that they can you know, easily swivel this over and close. Oh, didn't want to do that. See, this is what ideation is all about. Just kind of experimenting, having fun, figuring out the world. Okay, so we got that. Let's try and, you know, again, place this in an actual environment. So, you know, this is a forest, I imagine. So, you know, rough in some bushes, just like the rough shape of bushes. And then trees. Be mindful of tangents, you know. I know I still gotta keep working on mine. But yeah, some trees in a clearing. Like I said, don't be afraid of this. Don't get too precious. Just kind of have fun. You know, right now we're just trying to figure out how this world operates. What's in this world? How are these? What is the environment? What are the sights and sounds and smells these animals and these creatures are going to be encountering in their daily? You know, that's a good part of Spec Evo to me is kind of the minor details of things. Like, don't get me wrong, as we go in the series, we're going to get into some great detail. I want to start doing like the bugs and the mosquitoes, or like the insects that live on the island, because not everything's got to be giant. You know, that's another thing else to remember. There's subtlety in nature, and not everything's going to be so the grandiose, biggest specimens of everything. You know, give some love to the small creatures. They're important too. Besides, they're cool. I think they're really awesome. Yeah, so we got some rough ideas of like, you know, some trees. Said mind your tangents. Try to place things in a way that feels good and natural. Maybe this is like a conifer to really kind of sell that you're looking at a 3/4 angle. Now that I got this kind of there, I can start adding in little other details. You know, this is feeling lived in, but it needs to feel more lived in. So let's add some things. You know, and again, like I said, we're just gonna wrap this one up by like, you know, we're gonna focus only on one scene and then probably go through the other scenes here and there, but we want to do an actual breakdown of these things. So once I finish this kind of rough thing, then I'm going to start ideating on the house and trying to think is like, is this really a shape that we can play with, or is there more that we can consider? Right now, though, for the environment, I wanted to get a sense of like, what is this? And feel free to ask any more questions, folks. I'm more than happy to answer. And it's also good for me to kind of think about these things, you know, because good lore happens when you're asking questions. And good design is the same way. So I kind of like the idea that like maybe they have like specific things that they like to do. Maybe hang on their little steps. Maybe little fun things for them. Maybe they have little things that they put here. You know, think about it. Think about it like this. They have like this whole little space here. Maybe they'd like to do crafting here. Maybe they'd like to do workshops here. Maybe it's a little tent. But let's just say for now that they like to do, this one really enjoys to kind of do to tan their hides, their hunt. I imagine there'd be like something of a tanning rack here. So maybe tie it here. Like taut between these poles, you know, as a hide right there. Maybe it's sitting to dry, you know. Maybe these are leaves or in something of cultural significance there. Maybe it's there's a lot of things you could play with. And that's the thing. What I learned today at Lightbox is, you know, great visual development is asking questions and having a conversation. You know, you should always be creating things that to spark conversation. You know, oh, what does that mean? Oh, what does that do? Or how does that work? You know, I think that's an interesting way and a great way to approach these things. So it makes it feel more believable. Not just believable, but you get better results. You know, you have a lot more things to consider. Just, you know, keep considering these things. Now, I'm really enjoying this. Like, you know, this is a good iterative piece. You know, more can be added to this. You know, you want a place to feel lived in. That's the important thing. That is the really important thing to kind of consider. You want a space to feel lived in. So let's make sure this does. So, you know, what else could they be doing here? So they have a line that goes here, like, you know, probably hanging right there. So they'll probably go on, do things like this. So we can have the tide right there. They got a tanning rack. What else could they have here? You know, maybe what is their art? What do they do for art? It seems that they have art of some kind, but what is their art? What are some things you can imagine in this kind of space for them? Do they do these are specifically Zolhish settlements? Do they, you know, sculpt? Do they paint? I think they would be good painters, you know, making pigments and then using feathers and things to paint. I think they would also be good sculptors too. But no, actually, I think your Krogan would be better sculptors with their dexterous fingers and whatnot. I think, you know, something we can really play with. So we got some basic kind of things. Let me just add some, like, maybe resting for them is like making like little mounds. You know, something that kind of feels reminiscent of like a nesting mound. Maybe there's a fire here in the center, and they like to sit by the fire to stay warm. So maybe it's like a little ground. Maybe they make these little sacks filled with down or feathers. Kind of relax by the fire. Or maybe these are rocks, you know. I think more so they're kind of looking more like rocks, but you know, it's okay. We can easily remedy that and add the little pads I was thinking of from earlier right here on the periphery of the fire mound. Maybe this is where they tell stories. But then again, there's a good question, like what happens with smoke? How you divert smoke? Well, you can figure these out in a little bit, but first, let's get these worked on. Now, I'm going to start adding in some Zlolhish here. So I'm going to kind of quickly just lower the opacity on this. Get rid of that. Actually, keep that. I'm just going to rough in the little figures here. It's always good to have a reference. Even my own work, I need a reference in my own work. Let me see. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go to this guy. Edit. Copy. Paste. Okay. Let's get my reference here. There we go. Back to the little island scene right here. And climbing into their little tree villages. You know, I think vaguely this is also very inspired. There was this one dinosauroid project I saw a long time ago as a kid. It was by Wayne Barlow, and it looked amazing. And I can't for the life of me remember where it's from. I know the artwork when I see it, though. I think his take was like one of the Mimids. Just fascinating. It was really cool. A to Z Dinosaurs. I remember that. That was a good children's book. I have that, but it wasn't. This one is a different. It was a science fiction story. It was like Mutada Warriors or something like that. I can't for the life of me remember, but it looked super cool. Like the designs were really cool, and they had tree little villages like this too. I think a part of me is just like trying to regain what that was. It's okay. Let's do that. These guys, their little heads are like. But you folks at home drawing along, if you are, what are some of the things that you, what's to say? How do you approach your environments if you do them, or your props? You know, I'm always interested to hear how other artists kind of tackle, you know, their visual development, if that's what they're doing. Aside from references, I mostly just make very simple geometric shapes and keep ideating until I find something that's visually appealing. That's a great way to do it too. We've been doing. It's all about kind of also your personal aesthetic, and if it's your work and your world, yeah, you have complete reign over that. I always find it interesting though how people come up with their things. Some people like making their own geometric models, which I would love to do, to kind of get that real sense of accuracy. It's always kind of a fun thing to kind of see how people's brains work when they're taking on creative tasks. Okay, so speaking of 3D models, I would love to at some point model these little guys so I can actually have a perfect reference of them at all times from all angles. This is true. I need to 3D model them. You're right. No excuses. I gotta just buckle down and do it. Okay, let's see. This is true. This is true. I have been learning. So you know what? I will be 3D modeling them soon. Soon. There you go. I think I got the head shape kind of going to where it needs it to go. There we go. That's kind of looking better. There we go. It's getting a little guy looking here. So I have a male here looking up. These guys are covered in feathers. Maybe this one's just, kind of here. Maybe he's got like a little root, some sort of little thing here. Maybe a little back cover. Just some sort of generic clothing. Nothing serious. I'm not getting too detailed. I just kind of want to get a sense of where things are. So the top of their heads are bald, which I kind of think is cool. It was really inspired by a specific species of bird of paradise. A lot of their designs are inspired by like birds of paradise. Okay, let's get the actual coloration thing going. the skin around the eye is exposed, and the top of the head is going to be flesh. And then there. Also can't forget about the ear. Right here, and neck over here. Yeah, so that, sorry. There we go. There's one. There's a little guy. Dinosauroid. Get ourselves a little outfit on. Let's do the others. Maybe these are 2 females. And again, there needs to be not a lot of detail here, just enough to get the idea across. So. So they're doing this, so that means they're walking up using kind of vertical incline assist running. So they move up quickly up the steps to keep balance. So they fan out their tail. They turn on the other layer so they can see the better. Okay. It's not looking bad. Just trying to make sure everything is looking believable. There we go. I think the arm would be, yeah, there we go. Leg is a little bigger, so actually it'll be more higher up here. Yeah, we'll switch the leg position actually. Okay, that's looking good. So they move pretty quickly up the stairs to kind of keep momentum. We fan out the tail a little more. This one also is wearing a little outfit. So it's strapped down like this. And probably like have a little bit of a thing on its arm right here. Maybe some cool, maybe like a cool little neck cap, like a neck guard made of wood. Maybe signifying some familial thing. Maybe some shells on the leg. And again, this is a female, so not the head quills. Let me just fill that in right here. There we go. Ooh, looking good. I think they're looking pretty cute, if I do say so myself. Nice. Okay, so we're going to move on to the other species. One more. I have one more little figure right here, and then I'm going to start doing ideation on the houses specifically here. And I think that's what we're going to call it for tonight at like 9:30. You know, I wanted to get through another prop, but that's fine. We have plenty of time and many more sessions to go through. I was considering switching up the world and going into Project Quarry next session, you know, to kind of keep it interesting, you know, and keep cycling through, so that I don't get burned out in any one project. So we're going to leave the world of Renaissance behind next week, but then yeah, we'll come back. We'll cycle around in the next set. So I like to break them down. I'll probably break them down into 6 sets and maybe do that each month, maybe each. Now there's 12 universes. I could do literally. Oh, you know what? How about this? I think it would be better if, you know, starting each month, I can focus on a world each stream session. So I do, you know, stream every Sunday. So that's like what, 4 sessions? Oh, welcome everyone! Welcome everyone that's joining in. I'm just kind of working on, you know, doing some environmental design for my project, for my world building project, and this is the world of Renaissance, which is a world of dinosauroids. I'm just kind of figuring out some stream schedule stuff right now. Next session is going to be Project Quarry, but starting I think in November, I'm going to start dedicating each month to a specific project and having each 4 sessions be about that project, and then we'll move on each new month to a different project. You know, and by the time the year's up, we should have like we should go cycle through all 12 of them. So, you know, maybe not November. Let's just keep all. Let's just end the rest of this year kind of random, and then starting January, we're gonna go and rotate, start the proper rotation. You know, since I'm just starting out, I'm still trying to get a sense of things. But hey, you know, you live and you learn. All right, so this one is kind of gonna just be doing a little look-see over here. So this one's kind of just walking about. Maybe another male. maybe a younger male. Doesn't quite have everything. All the adult display features. They're just barely starting to come in. Maybe he has one of those tools I designed last session. Maybe he's holding a tool himself. Okay, let's just make sure that he's a little, he feels like he's a little off. Just a little smidge off. There we go. It's a little better. There we go. I feel like it was just kind of, you lost a little bit. Okay. Okay, there we go. Trying to get somewhere. This little guy, maybe, you know, maybe they're a student of something. Maybe they're wearing something specific. Maybe they're part of the pterosaur cult and they like worshiping the pterodracals. But he's like a monk. He's a little. You know, he's a scribe or something. He's like an artist, and he's still learning. You know, his little baby. He's not quite, you know, graduated to like, you know, a minister or like a, you know, he assists the main village shaman in doing things, and maybe they're doing something specific. Maybe they're just trying to get some more pigments ready, or maybe they're trying to get something interesting. A novice, exactly. They're a novice. You know, he's here to learn. Like in Minecraft, yeah. See, he doesn't even know his spells yet, or you know, his little incantations. He's still training. You know, and we give something that kind of signifies it. Maybe something on his beak. Oh, yeah, you know, he's got like the pterosaur crest kind of thing going on. He's got his little stylus. He's got his little brush stylus, you know, to draw. You know, it's made from a branch, and he's got like an interesting edge. He's got his other little branch. He's got his other tools in his hand. And yeah, there we go. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Okay, I know this is very confusing, but let's add some like basic flats, and I think that'd be fine. I could just. Let me add a gray. Nope, too dark. Okay. Here's some nice little scenes in. Let me just make an edit of that. Turn that off. Here, I just gotta make some. There we go. Okay, there we go. There we go. Just adding some minor shading here, just kind of get some texture and tone in to kind of break up monotony. Darker here. Okay, how are we looking, folks? Looking interesting? Nice. Okay. That's a good place to stop just drawing that. Let's just move on real quickly to do some iterating on the house designs themselves. Just kind of see what they look like. Okay, so here on the side, I'm just going to iterate real quickly. Just a couple little homes. I'm just going to kind of draw them out the same way I would draw my creatures. I'm just going to make some shadows. Now, little houses for these guys. Like maybe that, this. 1, 2, 3. Wait. Let's get a ground plane actually. Make sure this is a little easier. Okay, that's could be one. We just do this. Okay, adding a ground plane in. And let's see, this one is kind of more of a, I imagine this kind of, one, kind of like a tripod almost, 1, 2, and 3. And then supporting beams maybe split down the middle. So like 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. Like this would go here, this would go here, in the center. Maybe a perch. Another one. Silhouettes of these houses. Always save your work, folks. Make sure to always save your work. So this one probably is going to be like, do like a connected home. Someone's fancy, they got themselves a connected house. So maybe always got to start with the ground plane. That's my problem. Could be starting with the ground plane, but I need to remember. Maybe something like this. Maybe the middle plank right here, so kind of like that. And then, do the leaders of the community have the largest huts? That's an interesting question. You know, I got to think about how they even lead their community, you know? Because I'm thinking about how they are, you know, what kind of animal, or I think birds. The leaders tend to be, at least when making major decisions, tend to be the females. They are usually the hunters, you know, the ones that take on larger game too because of their larger size and more robust build. The males, however, they do important things in the culture. I was actually very inspired by East of Eden, which is like, or West of Eden, which is a cool book where like the Alane were like these mosasaur descendant creatures. The males are like champion artisans, and not saying that either of them don't do this, but it's kind of like I imagine I was trying to take inspiration from like how Birds of Paradise, the males are usually the ones to kind of dance and display for the females. I was trying to think of behaviors that would kind of translate over now that they have, you know, evolved into cultural sapiens. Again, to reiterate, I think that I'm having these guys be at the same technological level, or I have to say the same. They're the level of technology in which they exist right now, currently. You know, before they get, well, actually, I'll keep that. It's, you know, I wouldn't say it's a spoiler as much as like, you know, a tragic end to meet all the animals at that time. They make it pretty much to the late Neolithic age. You know, at least some people do. Like, they are hunter-gatherers primarily, but some are barely understand. Well, are doing. No, I would say they are primarily like hunter-gatherers to a degree, but they do engage in some agriculture. In you know, just kind of foraging in localized spots or just growing things, especially the Rogan, who have a better understanding of that since they mostly live their lives with plants and fungus. The Slawish, though, they tend to migrate through areas. So I wouldn't say they're like, depending on the community, like each group, you know, they're not a monolith. You know, I always like to kind of try to remember that in any group of species, the individuals and the cultures that will rise will be unique depending on the circumstances and the environment they're in. So, you know, I would say for the most part, depending on where you're at, you're going to see more females leading the kind of choices, but you find it where males also have input as well, or it's more, depending on where they are, they kind of do have more equal say. I would say that, you know, again, this is all subject to change, and I do need more research. Right now, we're still in ideation, so there's a lot of things that could be thought about. I don't know if they would really have so much the individual will have the largest hut. I think there's a communal hut, like a place where they would go to talk and make decisions. So the leaders go to the communal hut, which is like a large connected place. Or an area where they make their talks to the rest of them. I think in a way it's like they don't want to. I think in the bounds of what they're doing, the sense of community is more spread out throughout the area. You know, it's not as centralized, I guess you could say. It's kind of like nest mounds in a way. Like there's no real like center nest unless you're like an ostrich. But even then, you're just a communal nest there. So there's like a sense of like where, if you can imagine their little huts as like eggs, they're more centric to the center, where I guess you could say they were meeting, or we are gonna meet. You know, trying to think about like how do birds, how would birds govern themselves? These are the questions that keep me up at night. So I do stress myself a lot to kind of try to really think about how these creatures would solve their problems and contextualize their world, you know, as much as I can. You know, of course I have human biases, you know, as I am a human being, but trying to be aware of, how my primate brain works when I'm trying to think about these Antornithine bird descendants is a lot of matrix level thought I find funny. But yeah, so in short, the individuals, the ones who lead or make decisions tend to meet up in a single place. There's not really one person who's like the leader. It's kind of more like there are like little groups that come together every now and then to make decisions and then disband, and then they migrate to a different area, move through the forest, and they're heading to another spot. At least for the Zlolhish, the Rogan have a different way of living. They're much more, I guess you could say, hierarchical. They live in these large connected burrows, kind of like hobbits in a way. Sorry for that long rambling answer, but did that kind of answer your question? For now, at least. Like I said, this is going to need more research to kind of get to a more solid state. But for now, it's looking pretty much like they meet up in a place that is kind of for the community. So let me draw what that would probably look like. So imagine because I had a reference here actually that kind of looks like what I was imagining. It's like a large one, but it had like a lot of sticks through it. It's like a very woven kind of thing. Okay. I know exactly what this would look like, what this kind of like little place would look like. We just turn off these. They'll find like a dead tree. They'll find a tree, like a really big tree, and then build it hanging off the side of the tree, like the midsection. So like the tree's coming like this. Just imagine like a random conifer. They'll weave and build it from the center of the tree and build support struts, coming off in every way. And that's like the communal place. That's where the decisions go to be made. So like, you can imagine a village like this. Like that. As an idea. Okay, I'm going to do some quick little cleanups on these, and then I'm going to pose them all together. And just for added reference, I know this is pretty like fauna heavy. I do want to spice it up, so there will be. I do plan on doing. When we go through the project, I want to Viz-Dev everything, so there will be plant sessions. Like I will tune into my inner paleobotanist and try my hardest to kind of show the plants some love. They do deserve love. I think they're underappreciated. And that's specifically for, you know, kind of Earth-based things. You know, when we get to like xenofauna, there's gonna be a lot of cool things I have in store. So like, yeah, you can imagine a bunch of them congregating to this like tree. And it's like, all right, you know, we got to talk about moving village or building some more defenses. Or, you know, like the large albilosaurs are, you know, kind of moving closer into the village. Ain't a real good thing. Maybe there's a nice little platform up here for them. They're good weavers, you know, they weave good wood material. And the little stick paths up. There we go. There's like an important village hut. So they weave these things in here, and they have their little holes for entry. Larger, larger. Okay, you know, just trying to make sure that I get a good sense of like the architecture here. You know, I want to make sure, even, you know, going as far as to say, like, I will build probably models of these at some point, like IRL and in CGI, just to kind of get a sense of like what would be the actual architecture of this, and like would it be stable, you know? So it's important to me too. I want there to be a sense of, you know, plausibility and accuracy. Okay, we're almost there, folks. We're making great time. Maybe they do like dried branch. Yeah, like little branch steps right here. Dry these things, and here's like a lookout post. Maybe there's like this one has like a large hole and platform. So the posts go down, kind of like a 4 legs. All like tied up in a bunch at the bottom. And then, yeah, this at the top. And maybe like the holes like this, yeah. Maybe, you know, to make sure that people can get up there. Here's the little things, little rock pads. This. Okay, that's another one. Let's go to the last one. Nope, did not want to do that. Nope, did not want to do that either. Here we go. There you go. Like that. We do the actual one we just drew. A little bit of a change. It's okay. You can change things on the fly. That's why we keep things loose. You kind of want to make sure that, you know, you give yourself room to make adjustments as you go. And that's all there is to it, really. It's kind of having fun with it, you know, and I think that's what it's all about. You know, I love great visual development. Visual development's at its best when you're discovering things and exploring. Okay, cool. And let's see what else. Yeah, see, there's one more thing I want to add. Let's see. There we go. And little doors. There we go. Okay, I think we have what we need for this session to conclude. Like, you know, I think these look really good. You know, let's take a look at what we got done. Turn this off. Yeah, I think we had a great session, folks. Okay, yeah, we got some cool ideas for next time. We come to Renaissance. Got some cool Simosukids, you know, to kind of play with next time. We can iterate and choose, you know, one to kind of play with, even though these look all great. You know, I kind of want to keep it like maybe one of them. But, you know, and we got a nice, cool ideation on a new theropod on the island. And a megalosaurid, specifically a torvosaur, that survived into the Cretaceous. You know, one that possibly is, you know, venomous or poisonous, and now is adapted to taking down the large stegosauropods, and now the icysaurs, but has also been competed with the albiasaurs that have come to the island. And then we also were able to ideate on one of the thumbnails here and get some nice environments going. I think this came out really good. You know, we have a lot here to go here, and this is actually looking really, you know, it's giving me a lot of, you know, joy to kind of do these things, you know, to put it more in a professional space and to kind of start pushing myself. I really enjoy this. But yeah, what do you folks think? You know, before we call this stream adjourned. Thanks, Justin. No, this was really fun. I had a great time, and thanks for the suggestion, everyone. Like, this was really cool. Like, your ideas are really helpful. I always love the feedback of others, you know, and I always enjoyed that. That's the coolest thing, when we have a collaborative spirit in creating art. Thank you. Yeah, thanks to Gisette. Like, you know, it is coming along pretty well. And, you know, if you were working on your own stuff, feel free to tag me. Like, I'm more than happy to kind of, you know, post any artwork that people do during our streams on my Insta. You know, it's completely cool. Well, anyway, folks, there should be a recording of this VOD on my Twitch channel, and I had some errors with the first video, which I'm getting fixed right now, but this second video should be fine. Once I get the first video fine, I should probably have it both up on the YouTube. I also want to do some minor edits to them, so I think that'd be kind of fun. So that's why it's taking a little longer, but if you want to just see the stream as is, it's already on the VOD. If not, that'd be pretty crazy, and I'd probably be very sad, but hopefully the settings are all good and it's going to be there. But anyway, thank you. We'll be back again next Sunday at 6 o'clock PST, 6 p.m. PST. And yeah, we'll be starting we'll be going into the next world, which is going to be Project Quarry, which is the world of high elves, which I'm really excited for. And yeah, so for the rest of the month, just going to give you both a heads up. It's going to be kind of random, as I kind of just want to sample through the worlds to get everyone to kind of get to see what I'm doing. So I'll probably just dedicate two sessions to each world, for the remaining of the year. When January starts, I'm gonna, pick a project and dedicate all 4 Sunday sessions to that project, and then by month we'll start a new one. So literally by the time it's, December, we'll have cycled through all 12 of them, which is really kind of exciting for me. This is gonna be fun. All right. Well, anyway, folks, have a great rest of your day, night, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time as we journey into the Extraordinozoic.